The Barcelona player that I think Manchester United should be pursuing ahead of Frankie de Jong. Which Barcelona players may now come onto the market due to Barcelona's financial problems after they were knocked out of the Champions League at the group stage? And who would be in my top 3 for Barcelona players that Manchester United should be looking to sign this summer? All of that will be coming up in this video. So after recklessly betting heavy on short-term success to fix long-term problems, Barcelona now seem in a slight spot of bother, looking at the quite plain reality that they potentially may be down £25 million from what they calculated this season's revenue to be after they've gone out of the Champions League at the group stage. So come the summer, or maybe even as soon as January, there could be the opportunity for Manchester United to pick up some deals that maybe otherwise wouldn't be available. But which of the Barcelona players should United be pursuing? Well, Frankie de Jong is the obvious player that comes to mind, a player who perfectly embodies what it means to be a Cruyffian midfielder. He has the press resistance to be able to receive the ball with his back to goal in the defensive third, being able to use his body feints and disguised turns to wriggle out of pressure. He also has the intricate ball control combined with the dribbling ability that, like Andres Iniesta, which allows him to slalom his way through the centre of midfield, evading legs and driving the ball up the pitch. He's also a threat in the final third, able to create with passes around the box or run ahead of the ball into the box himself to find a goal scoring opportunity. He's definitely more of a roaming playmaker than Christian Eriksen, who, like Xavi Hernandez, Xabi Alonso and Paul Scholes towards the end of his career, is much more of a deep line playmaker, not having the athleticism or physicality needed to constantly be providing those forward movements like de Jong does, with Eriksen instead being more of a dictator from deep and an orchestrator of the attacks using his passing. But de Jong can fill that progressive passing void that would be lost with the Dutchman replacing Eriksen, which can be seen as over the last 365 days, de Jong ranks in the mid to high 80th percentiles for his progressive passes, passes into the final third, and passes into the penalty area, as well as his key passes as well. Combine this with the fact that he ranks in the mid to high 90s for his ball carrying metrics, like his progressive carries, carries into the final third, and carries into the penalty area, and you can see what a fantastic ball progressor de Jong is, and why he's exactly what United need alongside Casemiro in behind Bruno Fernandes. He would be expensive, commanding a wage package, likely in the £20 million per year region, alongside his transfer fee, which I imagine would be at least £70 million, as well as an agent and player fee on top. However, de Jong is still only 25 years old, and I would say that he's still 4 to 6 years maybe away from his peak, as I do think he could develop into a similar type of player as Luka Modric or Andres Iniesta, so definitely a main target for Manchester United. The next player that United should go for, even if Barcelona manage to recover from their financial situation, is Ousmane Dembele, as this is not only because the former Dortmund man has a contract until just 2024, after extending his deal which ran out in the summer by 2 more seasons, but he's also a player who ability-wise can be world class. He just needs to play for a sustained period of time at the top level without injuries, contract disputes, or being dropped for whatever reason. From his FB ref report, you can see that Dembele is already producing top level output. He ranks in the high 90th percentiles for attacking midfielders and wingers across Europe's top 5 leagues over the past 365 days for his XG assisted, assists, his key passes, crosses, passes into the penalty area and dribbles completed. So you can see from the flank Dembele is an elite level ball progressor, as well as being a great creator of chances. He's a perfect winger for a Ten Hag system, having the athletic, powerful dribbling ability needed to motor the ball forward in transition and lead the counter-attack, whilst also having the intricate tight ball control in congested areas needed to move the ball past defenders around the box. His two-footed versatility gives him the ability to go down the line and put in a cross, or cut inside and release a shot with equal quality from either flank, and his ability to feint and then move quickly, often selling a shot, forcing players to adjust or move before then dragging the ball back to his other foot. I'd say that Dembele may be the most unpredictable player in the world, and it's this unpredictability that makes him so effective. However, this unpredictability does extend to his consistency, as up until last season, I would have told United to firmly avoid Dembele, due to the massive financial investment, his apparent training ground issues, as well as his injury problems. However, after watching him flourish in Xavi's 4-3-3, playing as a natural winger, I think he has proved himself to be worthy of the label of being a top level player, having some impressive performances in big games and producing the kind of output that we would have expected him to produce when he was signed from Borussia Dortmund. And so he'd fit in perfectly on the right or the left of Ten Hag's 4-3-3, being the exact type of wide player that is best suited to a Cruyffian influenced system. sitting wide and looking to isolate his fullback in a 1v1 before creating via a cross or a pass into the box. In this sense, I'd say that Dembele probably has a case to be the best natural winger in the world, with other players I'd consider at his level or maybe above his level being Serge Gnabry, Leroy Sané, Riyad Mahrez, Kvaratskhelia and Vinicius Jr., as well as AC Milan's Rafael Leao. Antony and Sancho are both showing signs of top level ability, but Dembele is already top level, and that's the difference between United and teams like City, Real Madrid and PSG at the moment, and this is exactly why United need to either start signing or creating world-class level talent in order to compete. Now Dembele would be a risk, being on big wages and not really having a sustained 2 or 3 season period without being interrupted by injuries or some sort of dispute. But I think it's a risk that may be worth taking because the upside is massive. Sancho and Antony are players who have the potential to be top class, capable of being on the same level as players like Riyad Mahrez, Serge Gnabry, Di Maria, etc, etc. But at the moment at least, I don't see either being able to transition or progress into that Ballon d'Or contender category. However, with Dembele, I do see this being a likely progression if everything goes according to plan, and of course that is a big if. Now that's not me saying that Antony or Sancho can't reach Ballon d'Or level, as if Sancho became more authoritative and dominant in possession, having a bit more decisiveness in attacking situations, and was able to hit his peak level 1 out of every 2 games rather than the 1 out of every 6, 7 or 8 games which it currently is at the moment, then of course Sancho has the ability to reach that Ballon d'Or top 10 level. With Antony, I think he'd have to become less dependent on his left foot, and have the ability to shift between both feet, as currently whilst it does seem to work out for him, when he is dribbling or more like weaving through players, is one of those things where it looks fantastic in highlights clips, but he could be a lot more effective and efficient when the ball is at his feet in my opinion. He has a technical and probably more impressively the goal scoring and goal creating ability to start putting out elite level output. However, at the moment I do think it's his decision making which is the main obstacle to overcome. However, with Dembele, he has shown over the last 1 or 2 seasons that he can consistently produce this high level statistical output, as his FB Ref report shows, also performing in big games and contributing significantly in areas like ball progression and chance creation specifically. Dembele's major obstacle in reaching world class level is actually the complete opposite to Antony's. As Antony's FB Ref report shows, he is very good, if not potentially a top level ball progressor, whilst also ranking highly in the goal scoring department, but not quite as high when it comes to chance creation, with his XG assisted not as high as in previous areas as I've mentioned. It's not bad, I would still categorise Antony as a very good chance creator, but his ball progression certainly is top level, as well as his output in the final third potentially. Dembele on the other hand is let down by his finishing, ranking unexpectedly low for his non-penalty XG, whilst also underperforming it by 0.06. If Dembele was to add the long range shooting ability that Antony already has, or the ability to get into goal scoring positions and then finish those chances as players like Mo Salah and Kylian Mbappe have mastered, then Dembele has all the other elements to potentially win the Ballon d'Or. And so even though he would come with a lot of baggage, command a massive signing on fee and wage package, and certainly could be considered a prime candidate for United's next flop, I still think that if it does work out, which I believe it can, as he has been performing well for Barcelona over a sustained period now, then I do think he can be the player that United need to upgrade their attack to the level of City and Real Madrid's. He'd be available on a free when his contract expires in 2024, which means that he'll likely be available at a discounted rate next summer, even more once you factor in Barcelona's financial issues, and so I think he'd be gettable for around £40 million next summer if United wanted to pursue him, and if he is, that's a deal that I would probably even think about doing, depending on the other signings that United could make. I will come on to whether I think Dembele should be one of United's main targets at the end of the video. The next player from Barcelona that I would target for Manchester United is Pedri. Pedri is still only 19, not 20 till the end of November, but he's already established himself as one of the best creative central midfielders in world football, and I'm not even exaggerating. And when you look at Pedri's FB Ref report, you can see the statistical weight behind my viewpoint. Just from his standard report, you can see that he's not just ranking incredibly highly for his ball progressive metrics like his progressive passes, progressive carries and dribbles, but also for his XG assisted, which sits in the top 20% as well. Seeing Pedri across the board looking like the type of creative central midfielder that would have a place in nearly every squad in Europe. And this statistical output on the pitch portrays Pedri as almost an Iniesta reincarnate, sufficiently tweaked for the modern game, with Pedri being a bit more athletic without the ball, but like Iniesta as well you could say, I do think Pedri could start adding goal scoring to his game as well, taking his usual 5 to 10 goal contributions a season to maybe 15 or 20 goal contributions per season. And then I think at that point, like Iniesta, he can go down as a generational talent, and in the right team could become a legend of the game. Like Iniesta, Pedri has a unique and elegant ball carrying style, weaving through the midfield with his intricate ball control and sudden changes of speed and direction, and in Ten Hag's midfield 3 in the 4-2-3-1, I actually think Pedri could be used alongside Casemiro as more of a roaming playmaker, similar to the role we see Bernardo Silva play at Manchester City, or he could be used in the number 10 position if Bruno Fernandes wasn't there, playing high up the pitch and being United's main creator of the attack. If brought into the midfield, I think Pedri could either be asked to play the same role that De Jong would be asked to play, which is as a roaming playmaker alongside Casemiro in a double pivot with Bruno Fernandes then ahead, or he could be used in a more advanced position in say a midfield 3, or even if Ten Hag wanted to bring in De Jong as well, or continue with Eriksen in there, Pedri could play in a wide midfield position in a diamond, with De Jong or Eriksen sitting on the other side with Casemiro at the base and Fernandes at the point of the diamond. Pedri could also potentially be used as a wide playmaker from the left, who rather than holding his width could instead drift inside in between the lines and sitting in the half space when United have possession in the middle third, and so we can see that Pedri offers a great deal of versatility in that midfield position, but in order to get the best out of him I do think a deeper central midfield role would be the best for his development, as it would allow him to get the best out of his press resistance in deeper areas, as well as being able to use his intricate passing ability in congested areas. And despite his age, I already think he's on the cusp of becoming a world-class player, and I personally would actually prefer signing Pedri to De Jong for Manchester United, as both would likely cost around the £80 million mark if sold, but I feel like with Pedri's potential ceiling, it's a bit higher than De Jong's, even though I do still think De Jong will develop into a world-class midfielder. I think it's because Pedri offers more around the box, whilst also excelling in the same ball progression department that De Jong does as well, sitting around the 90th percentile for his passes into the final third, passes into the box, and his progressive passes in general, which shows that Pedri is legitimately producing top-level output and not just a player who looks good on the eye. I think adding Pedri into the midfield would not only drastically improve United currently, but also give them a potential generational talent who is still maybe a decade or so away from his prime. So these are the main 3 players that I would be targeting if I was Manchester United, with Dembele maybe being a better fit around 2024, when United can afford to really strengthen their quality in depth. However, with the emergence of Alejandro Garnacho and Rashford coming back into form, despite Dembele being a player that would definitely improve United's attack, at the moment it's probably not a position that is worth United paying the big money for to bring in a player when they could use that money elsewhere. So that leaves Pedri and De Jong as my main 2 options, with Pedri being my first choice. Players like ter Stegen and Ronald Araujo, and maybe even Gavi, are 3 other options that United could potentially look at. Ter Stegen could be a great De Gea replacement if the fee is around the £40 to £50 million mark. He is a fantastic shot stopper, having great reflexes from short range shots, but is his ball playing ability which would be the significant improvement on De Gea, with ter Stegen sitting in the 99th percentile for his pass completion of his launch passes, showing the range and accuracy of his passing, which is exactly what would take Ten Hag's build-up system to the next level. He isn't that dominant from crosses, though he is a fairly adequate sweeper keeper, and given that he is now 30, I do think considering the fee that they would pay, there may be better options on the market. Araujo and Gavi, as well as players like Nico Gonzalez and Serginho Dest, are all players who I think potentially could make good alternative squad options and would be viable transfers depending on the cost, but my 3 main targets would be Pedri, who I reckon would cost in excess of £80 million if Barcelona were even looking to sell him, De Jong for around maybe 70 to 80 million, and Dembele most likely on a free in 2024. So thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, remember to subscribe to the channel, click the bell for notifications, check out some of my other videos which will be linked in the description, and put your thoughts in the comment section as well.